Good
Welcome to Reflecting
morning.
Back.
How are
Good
you?
morning. I am good. How are you, Lana?
Doing well. So happy to be here.
That is awesome. We already have people saying good morning to us. Those of you that do not know who I am Michelle with Reflecting Back with Michelle podcast. And I have the wonderful Lana with me, and it's Lana Raquel Photography. And she's going to tell us all about herself. And let's just get right into it. How are you doing?
I'm doing so good. I actually just got back from a trip to Canada, so I'm kind of
Mhm.
recuperating a little bit, but doing really good. Ready to kind of get the ball rolling on 2024.
What does 2024 look like for you? Now let's
You
go back to
know,
Canada. Did you shoot there?
I did some shooting there. One of my friends who we were talking about previously is an
Mhm.
actor, and he does teaching as well as, auditioning for all sorts of movies. The movie scene is actually really big in Canada. They shoot a lot of Hallmark movies. So we played around and we did all sorts of stuff. It was really, really fun.
That is so cool. What was the highlight of being there?
Oh my goodness. Well, I was born and raised in Winnipeg. And so,
Okay.
there's just something so homey feeling about it. All the people are so welcoming. And then, of course, you have the snow, which we didn't have snow
Mhm.
here before Christmas. So it really kind of puts you in that mood for like hibernation and creativity where you can just kind of think about new ideas and rest and just kind of be ready to hit the ball rolling when you get back.
Oh, that totally makes sense. Yeah. Now, did you? I know that you and your actor friend. I don't. And you're welcome to say his name. I know that you guys do poses and stuff together. Did you
Mhm.
get to do anything there while you were there?
No, not particularly. It was
Okay.
a little bit limited, but we kind of just snuck in as much as we could.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, fun. Okay, so let's back up and let's go when later. When have you been into?
No, it's interesting. I have not always been into photography, but I can see now, looking back, how all of the dots have kind of connected over time. When I was about 7, my mom and dad took me to Graceland for the first time, and I had this
Mhm.
little bitty Barbie camera. It was just this little plastic thing, and of course,
Sure.
captured the whole trip. But then I put it down, and I never really thought about it until the next
Mhm.
trip and the next trip. But what I would do is I loved to read magazines, particularly fashion magazines.
Mhm.
And I would rip out the advertisements and I would make murals and I would put them on my wall. But it really wasn't until about 2013 when I went through some difficulties in my life. And I just decided, you know what, I am going to leave everything behind for a while and I'm going to sell my possessions and I'm going to go to Europe.
Mhm. Mm.
And when I was there, I was so inspired by everything that I saw around me. And I was just constantly taking pictures. My dad is also a photographer. So it was around
Okay.
that same time where he was buying new cameras. He had recently
Mhm.
switched over to Sony. And so we just kind of got on the Sony train at the same time and
Mhm.
really started honing in, doing sessions for friends and family. And then it wasn't until I met my husband really that I got into it full time.
Okay. Now let's go back to you kind of starting in Europe. Like, can you tell a little bit about? You said that you're going through a rough time. Is Can you share, something that you're willing to share, and then kind of how it transitioned to you going to Europe and finding yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually moved from Canada to the United States for a relationship. And that relationship did not turn out to be what I expected when I moved here. So I found
Mhm.
myself in a new country where, I had some friends, but I didn't have any family. I was very much alone and found myself going, this is a new beginning. What am I going to do with this? And it was during that time that I really found God. I remember waking up one day and I was really down, and I just felt, which is weird because I hadn't really been going to church at this point, but I just heard God say to me, "You have two choices. You can either lay in bed and feel sorry for yourself, and you can lay here all day if you want to, or you can get up and you can find somebody to pray with you." And I
Mm,
just, for the very first time in my life, I felt called. I felt like something was speaking to me. And so I did. I went out and I found someone to pray with me. It was very difficult because it was the 4th of
mm.
July. My whole life fell apart on the 4th of July.
Oh,
Um,
well, yeah.
but I did. I found this one minister who came and prayed with me.
Mhm,
And that kind of started
mhm.
the journey
How
from
did you
there.
find him? Did you,
I
like,
literally
Google for a minister?
called
Like, how'd you find him?
I just called different churches until I finally got somebody
Okay.
on the phone.
Mm,
And him and his
neat.
wife, I just remember they both came out and we sat at these picnic benches, and it brought me so much comfort. And I kind of knew that I had started on this path and there was no going back.
Wow, wow. And what was some of, that person's, like, words of encouragement that kind of put you on the right path?
You know, I think more than anything, it was just having somebody to really listen and
Mm,
understand and kind of guide
mhm,
me. I mean, up until that point, I had never owned a Bible. I
mhm,
actually would say to people that I didn't believe in Jesus. And
mhm,
so, he really taught me as much as he could in that very brief encounter. Um, he really was like a representation of Christ to me.
mm.
Um,
Wow.
and
Did you
after that, I ended up moving away for a little while. And that was another place where I really kind of sunk into that comfort of,
Mhm,
learning who God was, and, really seeking the church and reading the Bible and kind of
mm,
having that little period of hibernation and healing, kind of to
mhm,
do something different, away from everything that I was familiar with.
that's good. Did you consider yourself an atheist or agnostic, or you just didn't believe?
I think I was more of an agnostic. I would say at the time that I believed in God, but I did not believe in Jesus.
Okay, interesting. Gotcha. So you went to Europe
Mhm.
and, talk to us about Europe and how you got your camera out and some of your first photos that you took.
So I was really influenced by the architecture in particular. There's something just so beautiful about all of the detail and the tradition, and there's also something very romantic in it. And I think I previously mentioned to you that I have a background in theater.
Mhm.
And so, Europe to me is very theatrical, it's very
Mm,
romantic. Just even sitting and watching people, you can get very easily inspired.
mm,
So, when I was very young, I started doing musicals when I was about 11. And that kind of got me hooked on the storytelling aspect of photography, which is something that, you think about a little bit, but most people don't kind of think about it a whole lot.
mhm,
When
mhm,
you're taking a picture, not only are you taking a picture of what's happening, everything in that photo tells a story,
mm,
from the emotion in someone's eyes to their body language to how they interact with one another, what's in the background. So, in a way, you're really setting the stage for a play, so to speak.
mm.
And you can use
You
your
know,
imagination.
I've never had that outlook before. You know, it's because I take selfies or I take family photos all
Mhm.
the time, and I'm just like, "Smile, cheese," but to think about your whole environment that is gonna be involved in that, photo, that's spectacular. I've never thought of it that way.
Well, it makes it so much more fun too. My favorite
Mhm,
photo shoots are kind of where people are willing to suspend their reality temporarily and
Mm,
dream and imagine. And, it can feel awkward at times because I'll tell
mhm,
people, can you throw your head back and laugh? But
okay.
honestly, as awkward as it feels, those are the best
Mhm,
pictures when people can
mm,
kind of just let go and free themselves and be in the moment.
mm, mm. Now, do you take auto pictures, or are you on a timer? Like, how do you typically structure your photo shoots?
Well, it really depends on what I'm doing. I always shoot on manual because I like to be super in
Okay.
control of all of my settings. I know exactly what I want, I know how I want it to look. One of the things that I've learned that I didn't know at first was to really get my background tuned in before I even
Mm,
tune in my subjects. So, how do I
okay.
want this to look? Do I want the
Mhm,
background to be blurry? Do I want it to be light and hazy? Do I want it to be crisp and dramatic? So, really getting the background dialed in and then lighting my subject after that. That has
mm,
really made a
mm,
big difference in presentation.
mhm. Wow. Okay, so I'm not a camera connoisseur or photographer connoisseur or anything like that. So when you say that you get the background in focus first and then your subject, like to
Mhm.
me, it's kind of like mind blown because I'm thinking, okay, it's all one, right? So is there
Right.
a way that you can explain it to someone like myself that's listening? Like, how do you get two subjects at different times? Like, how do you sync all that?
So I will have the person that I'm photographing, I will have them stand in the scene while I'm doing it. And
Okay.
basically, I am going to kind of change the settings so that I get the backdrop how I want it to look. So a lot of times that just means, it's looking too dark. It's kind of a gloomy day. I would like it to look brighter. Maybe I want to change my white balance and I want to make it look a little bit more warm. Maybe I don't
Okay.
want it to look so gloomy. I want it to look more like cozy and inviting. And so while they're standing there, I'll get the settings for the background so that the background is properly lit. Because a lot of times what happens is when you're trying to light your subject and you're not so focused on the background, the subject might be perfectly lit, but the background might be too dark, the background might be
Mm,
washed out. Um, and so, you really want both elements of the photograph to tell that story together.
mm. That's great. I love that. What are some of your favorite photos to take? That's a good idea. I'm get a drink too.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a little hoarse today as well from all the
Mhm,
traveling. I would say I really like to do a lot of editorial photography. So one of the
mhm,
things that makes me very different, there's become this kind of uptick trend in natural light photography.
mhm,
And I love natural light photography. I use it a lot, especially on weddings. But then there's also situations where, the lighting is darker or you want to just create something a little bit more cinematic looking. And so I have all
sure.
sorts of, umbrellas and diffusers that I bring with me that create more of that magazine style that we were talking about. And
Mhm.
so,
Here we
what
go.
I find really interesting is, I actually, when I went back to Canada, started looking through a lot of my old journals. And what I
Mhm.
found very interesting was I had covered them with magazine clippings that look very similar to the photos that I take today.
Mhm.
So
Look at
that was
this,
really
Lana.
powerful.
I pulled up our
Oh,
I don't know, hopefully you can see it. Yeah, while you were talking and your different frames that you take. So can you tell us a little bit about these starting from the left, like this couple here
mhm.
and how you blurred the back? Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So the couple on the left was actually a wedding that I recently did at Finley Farms. They were the sweetest couple.
Mm,
What's interesting about this particular picture is that it was actually raining which you can't
Mm,
tell at all. They were such troopers about it. We went out, we got it done very quickly. Um,
mm,
this is one of my favorite moments for brides and grooms.
mm,
So you've gotten married, you're at your reception, you're talking to people, maybe you want a little break. And so that's the time where I kind of pull the bride and the groom away for about 15 minutes and we go and do sunset pictures.
okay.
It's always such a lovely break for them. And you get like the most dynamic photos as well. The lighting's perfect, nobody else is around. It's a really good little private moment for the two of them.
Mm, neat. And then what about top right?
Okay, so the top right was actually a styled shoot that I put together with some models from Boost. Um,
Mhm.
Maybe a year or two ago, I had been working pretty heavily with training new models that were wanting to sign on to the agency. And
Okay.
so these two girls, other than Kara, they were both involved with Boost. And we actually put it together at a wedding venue called Juniper Gardens. And
Mm,
so, I had this idea or this dream of making it a picnic theme. And I really wanted to incorporate a lot of feminine, very girly colors. One of our
mhm,
girls, she actually runs a boutique. And so she kind of supplied all of the dresses for us. But we really wanted to go with kind of like that bohemian autumn, kind of just women
mhm,
enjoying each other's company, capturing more
mhm,
natural moments, but still with that kind of magazine editorial feel.
mhm. That's one of my favorite photos. I like that a lot.
Oh, thank you so
And
much.
then, yeah, absolutely. And then at the bottom is just so chic. The couple
Well,
in
thank
the
you.
bottom photo right.
Yeah,
Mhm,
that was actually for a bar in Springfield called Inner
mhm,
Circle, and that was during some of my work with Boost modeling agency as well. And
mhm,
so we had a bunch of different, models and couples come out. And basically, we were just trying to capture the essence of the place where we were in. So, this is
mm,
another example of when it's very important to make sure that you have those background details dialed in. Because if you're wanting to highlight a particular place, you're
mm,
not wanting that background to be completely dark where you can't really see the details of, where you
mhm.
are or what's going on.
Super cool. Super
Thank
cool. Okay.
you.
So we're gonna pause right there. I need to mention our spotlight sponsor. So let me have you been into Metro Eats there in Springfield?
No, I haven't tried it yet. That
Yeah.
sounds awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's a place. It's over at Metro Eats. Is 2463 West Sunshine. It's in
Okay.
Springfield. I didn't know anything about it either. Andrea, she is going to be on the podcast on the 21st, and she left corporate America, and she just decided that she's going to open a food truck of healthy ingredient smoothies and lattes, and there's
Mm.
like yummy like bites, like they're she doesn't serve a full course meal. They're just like bites to eat, appetizers type things, and it's all 100% nutritious. And so
Ooh,
she actually is giving a 50% off their first drink order. So when you're in Springfield, go see Andrea, and she'd love to hook you up and give you 50% off.
love it.
That pretty cool? Yeah. All righty. So now let's talk about we got things that you did in the past, and so what are you currently working on?
So this year is going to be a little bit of a pivot for me. Obviously, I'm still leaning heavily into servicing my wedding clients and my families. I'm going to be doing some more traveling. I have a wedding in Mexico this summer. So, kind of hoping to pick up more of those destination weddings. It's
Okay.
also going to be a different year because my husband and I would like to start a family. So I'm kind of
Fun.
shifting gears because, up until this point, this business has really been my baby. So morning to night, when you own your own business, you are go, 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 but you love it. It's it's so rewarding. It's also it's very healing. And if
Mhm.
you're having a hard day, if something's bothering you, you have a creative outlet that you can pour into.
Mhm.
It's also connected me with so many different people in the community. Every
Mhm.
time I'm going to do a shoot, I always pray before I go. And I say, like, God, please
Mhm.
help me to be a blessing to these people. Help me to take good photos. Um, so yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
that's kind of where my heart is at, is to continue
Mhm.
kind of down this path and continue scaling it. um,
Mhm.
I would say I've become very entrepreneurial over the years. Definitely have a growth mindset, and I love scaling something and watching it grow and flourish. And I want to
Mm.
encourage other people to do the same. And something
Mhm.
that really stuck in my mind this morning that I feel like you all need to know is that you cannot experience growth if you're in your comfort zone. And
Mm.
you can do something and move forward and still be uncomfortable and still be afraid. You can still take action even when you're feeling that way. But the thing of it is, you're going to be uncomfortable either way. If you don't
Yeah.
act, you're going to regret it. You're going to be thinking about it. You're going to be uncomfortable. But if you do act, you'll be uncomfortable, but at least you will be moving towards your goal. You'll be moving forward. And it really is consistency that's going to get you forward.
Mhm.
It's not
Mhm.
going to happen overnight. As much as we all want to be successful overnight, that's not how
Mhm.
you get there. You get there by
Well,
little
Lana,
steps over time.
you were saying at the very beginning, because you've been in it over 10 years now, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And at the beginning, I remember you were saying that you had to start part-time. Can you tell us a little bit about that, like starting part-time and now, where you're at currently? And this goes
Yeah.
along with what you're saying, that it doesn't happen overnight.
Absolutely. So, originally, when I started, I was doing a lot of photos for friends and family, and then I picked up a few weddings. And I was kind of just doing it as a side gig. I actually have my degree in accounting. And so, I would go and do my accounting job during the day. And then, on the weekends and in the evenings, I would do photography. It really wasn't until 2020 hit and I got laid off from my accounting job. I mean, pretty much our entire company did. And so that gave me opportunity to go, what do I have to lose? I might as
Mm.
well go fully into this and take it as far as I can run and see what I can do with it. And every year I have scaled up 150% of what I did the year before.
Wow. What give us like what would be your tips in how you scaled that successfully?
So I would say you want to be competitive with your pricing. So you want to examine what your peers in the area are doing. If you're a beginner photographer, you're obviously not going to want to put your prices where a seasoned photographer would be. You'll probably want to charge less, just
Okay.
until you kind of, get your photos kind of up to the quality that they need to be at to charge those bigger prices. So practice,
Mhm.
practice, practice for sure. And you also need to have a value added to everything that you provide. Be very customer service based, and just really try to provide as much value as you can with your packages. But I would say, really, like I was saying earlier, it is the consistency. You know, I
Mhm.
have friends who have been in this business for 12 years full time. Granted, I was
Mhm.
part time for 8 or 9 years and full time for
Mhm.
3. So,
Mhm.
they've been chipping away at it for 12 or more years. And now, the only gigs they get are for the very, very highest top weddings, the
Mhm.
biggest, 400 people luxury weddings.
Wow.
But
Mhm.
I think the problem is that too many people give up because they don't see the results after the first year or two.
Okay. That makes sense. Sure. That makes sense. Wow. Well, we have about 2 minutes left.
Okay.
Is there anything that I love the words of wisdom that you just gave? What else? What other tips or tricks or words of wisdom that you can provide us?
Well, I think the last thing would be that great art is achieved through great pain. We all
Mm,
suffer, we all go through pain. Having God to lean on has been my saving grace during that time. It also helps to have that creative outlet. So don't be afraid of the pain, lean into it, learn from it. Pain is the greatest teacher, and use it to better the world where you can, because we're all going to go through hard times, and it's not what happens to you that determines or defines you. It's what you do with it and who you allow it to make you into.
that's so good. Well, thank you so much for coming on and blessing us with all
Thank
your
you,
words of
Michelle.
wisdom. And absolutely, really, really enjoyed it. And I hope that our listeners learn something from you. And and if they're entrepreneurs, to keep pursuing their dreams. And just like you said, the thing is, don't give up. I'm
Hmm.
also an entrepreneur, and there's times, and I'm doing this by myself, right? So marketing and just everything that you can imagine, just trying to get the business going, and it's exhausting, and also working full time. So, my mind does go, hey, let's
Hmm.
just give it up. Why are you doing this? Well, just fill in the blank. And my husband and I always have a saying that, you know don't give a devil the foothold, right? So every time I think about giving up, that's just what pops in my head. And so it's thank you for, even you blessed me with that, so thank you so much
Oh,
for reminding
absolutely.
me.
Thank you for what you're doing and all of your beautiful write ups and all the posts that
Oh,
you've made. Like, I can really tell that your heart is in this and how hard you're working to bless the community and spread encouragement. It's very much needed.
thank you very much, that's sweet. Well, I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
You as well. Thank you for
I
having me.
will. Thank you. All right, bye bye.
Bye.